Graphic video release of an officer-involved shooting in Bakersfield. The 50th anniversary of America heading to the moon is recognized. This is 17 News at Noon. Good afternoon, I'm Alex Fisher. We begin with new video release of what started as a suspicious call and ended in an officer-involved shooting. Both the suspect and deputy were wounded. KCSO released body cam footage of the shooting and spoke about the ordeal. 17's Amber Frias joins us this afternoon in northwest Bakersfield with more on that footage and what unfolded. All right, we'll get to our live picture in just a moment. And again, we just received this footage from KCSO earlier this morning, about 2 hours ago. And it all started on Sunday morning where 28-year-old Reginald Anderson called 911, and he told the dispatcher that he was schizophrenic and ready to move. So we want to take you to some video from KCSO. Again, this was at the news conference from earlier today. And this is what some of the footage that they showed. And as you can see right there, the officer started shooting his weapon when that suspect started to lunge at him and eventually did cut the officer on the arm. And KCSO did show that wound. It was very graphic. And just Sheriff Don Youngblood talked about how this was, of course, a split-second decision. And and let's take a listen to what Sheriff Youngblood had to say at this news conference.
This is about someone who has a mental health issue that's armed with a knife who had a plan and planned on doing this. And, this is like when an officer makes a car stop. You don't know what the conversation inside that car is. You don't know what the intent of the person in that car is. That puts you at a distinct disadvantage. And we live with that disadvantage every single day.
Sheriff Youngblood added that this is not the first time his deputies are dispatched to this home. The department says they are working on trying to release body cam footage to the public as soon as possible in an effort to provide more transparency. And Amber Frias will have more coming up tonight on the news at 5. All right, Kat, thank you so much. The 4 Democratic congresswomen targeted by President Trump's weekend tweets counterpunched, and the president stoking the fires and sparking new outrage after his go-back attack. NBC's Peter Alexander has more.
The self-styled squad collectively calling out President Trump.
He does not know how to defend his policies, so what he does is attack us personally.
It comes after the president escalated his attack on the 4 freshman Democrats.
These are people that, in my opinion, hate our country.
Expressing no regret for his incendiary weekend tweet using a racist trope, arguing the liberal lawmakers, while not calling them out by name, should go back to their home countries, though all but one was born in the U.S. House Democrats overnight drafting a resolution condemning the president's words, writing President Donald Trump's racist comments have legitimized fear and hatred of new Americans and people of color. Pressed whether he's concerned people view his comments as racist and that white nationalists will embrace his words.
It doesn't concern me because many people agree with me. And all I'm saying, they want to leave, they can leave.
The 4 progressive Democrats accusing the president of inflaming racial resentment.
This is the agenda of white nationalists.
We are grateful for your solidarity, your encouragement, and your support in the face of the most recent xenophobic, bigoted remarks from the occupant of our White House.
I urge House leadership, many of my colleagues, to take action to impeach this lawless president today.
The lawmakers arguing the president's remarks were designed to distract from his controversial policies, including the separation of migrant families. Former Vice President Joe Biden on Morning Joe denouncing the president's comments.
What presidents say, they're the face of America, like it or not. They're the face of America. And the idea that Donald Trump says and does the things he does is just absolutely despicable.
Some Republicans have called the president's remarks racist.
I think those tweets are racist and xenophobic. They're also inaccurate.
But most have steered clear of using that word.
A lot of people have been using the word, and my own view is that what was said and what was tweeted was destructive, was demeaning, was disunifying, and frankly, was very wrong.
And while from GOP leaders there's been silence, the 4 congresswomen say other Republicans have reached out.
There were many people who approached me and who said, I disagree with some of your policies. I'm an independent. I'm a Republican. But I think what he did was wrong. And he won't apologize. But I am going to apologize.
That was Peter Alexander reporting. And Bakersfield Congressman and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy responded to the criticism, saying the tweets were not racist.
Were the president's tweets that said go back racist?
No. And I do not believe the Speaker of the House was racist last week either when those individuals on her side of the aisle who are claiming the president is racist, when they claim she was racist either. I do not believe that. I believe this is about ideology. This is about socialism versus freedom. And it's very clear what the debate is happening. I understand when I listened to their press conference yesterday, they talked more about impeachment than anything else. Even one of those individuals, this wasn't the first time they talked about impeachment. On the night of being sworn in, they brought all their supporters together, and they spoke about impeachment in words that I will not use here. This is more from their basis about politics.
And President Trump tweeted at Congressman McCarthy saying, "Thank you, Kevin." Well, 50 years ago today, the fires of celestial science lifted 3 men from the surface of the earth and toward the greatest exploration in human history. But as the name of the mission indicates, it took many steps to get Apollo 11 off the ground. Jay Gray has this look back at the flight of Apollo 11 with one of the men who was on it.
Time for this nation to take a clearly leading role in space achievement.
It was John F. Kennedy who launched the initiative to put an American on the moon. The president's speech came just a month after the Soviet Union sent the first man into space. But it wasn't as easy as NASA simply building a rocket and aiming at the heavens. They had a lot to learn about science, technology, and mortality. Apollo 1 was scheduled to launch early in 1967, but a pre-flight fire swept through the capsule, killing all 3 astronauts on board. NASA continued on, testing different phases of the ultimate goal, and in 1968, Apollo 8 took a 3-man crew around the moon without landing.
God bless all of you.
Finally, 50 years ago today, Michael Collins found himself sitting on top of 1 million gallons of rocket fuel next to Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin.
I get nervous easily, and that seemed like a suitable occasion to be nervous.
The countdown began.
6, 5, 4.
5, 4, I don't care about that. What's going to happen after 0?
After 0, the 300-foot rocket began to move. Apollo 11 cleared the tower, then cleared the boundaries of Earth, giving mankind a new perspective on its home planet.
That little orb out your window really grabs your attention. It's center stage. It's the whole show.
But another show would come 5 days later when the crew made man's first mark on the moon. Jay Gray, NBC News.
And the spacesuit worn by Apollo 11 astronaut Neil Armstrong was unveiled at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum today. The refurbished spacesuit is part of the 50th anniversary celebration of his moon landing. Various people spoke at the event, including Vice President Mike Pence and NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine.
Commander Neil Armstrong's name is synonymous with undaunted courage, the American spirit of exploration, and the evidence that humanity's potential is limitless. 50 years ago this week, Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins hurtled through the unforgiving blackness of space, aiming at the moon, not in a mission of conquest, but a mission of peace. Their success expanded humanity's understanding of our celestial neighbor, and most importantly, it taught us something about ourselves, that together we can accomplish any goal and overcome any difficulty.
The risks were so real that history records that President Nixon had a speech prepared prior to the landing in the event that the mission failed. But of course it didn't fail. After all, with 400,000 men and women behind the mission of NASA, with the hearts and the prayers of the American people, how could it have failed?
And there are many other events in celebration of Apollo 11 throughout the week. Welcome back. The search for a missing hiker is over, but has a happy ending. The 60-year-old wife and mother vanished on Friday while on a camping trip with her husband just east of Kern County. Now her family says she fled from an armed attacker. NBC's Miguel Almaguer has more.
Lots of things to yeah, right. Search and rescue.
This morning, Cheryl Powell is back with her family, bruised and battered, but in good spirits after a harrowing story of survival.
It was really just a matter of me wanting to check out a gorgeous new area while my husband was turning the car around, and right away we ran into trouble.
While she was getting ready to camp with her husband in Central California's remote White Mountains on Friday, she learned the couple was not alone.
My dad was parking the car around. She went to go pee in the woods over there, and a man came out from behind some trees, and he had a knife on him.
The first thing that's going to happen here is I'm going to use this knife on your dog, and then if you don't let me have my way with you, I'll use it on you.
Cheryl says she ran into the woods with her small dog, moving deeper into the forest because she feared she was being chased. When she finally lost the man with the knife, she also lost her way back to the campsite. For 3 cold nights and 4 hot summer days, Cheryl and her dog were alone, on the run, moving only at night and hiding from sight during the day.
At night when I chose to hike, I thought, okay, well, the rattlesnakes probably aren't out. It's chilly. So I took the risk.
Drinking from a creek and eating fruit from a cactus, she managed to stay alive. Nearby, helicopters scoured the mountains while rescue teams combed the forest. On day 4 of the massive search, finally a break. The family dog was found 2.5 miles from the campsite where Cheryl went missing. Not long after, and not far away, this search team found the 60-year-old.
That was harrowing. Luckily, I'm here.
Defying the odds, this mother and wife is this morning back where she belongs.
I
got that, my wife.
Yeah.
Her incredible story of survival being called a miracle in the mountains.
All right, well, it is a major sign of recovery in an area ravaged by wildfires. Yesterday, the town of Paradise issued its first certificate of occupancy for a rebuilt home. It comes 8 months after the Camp Fire devastated 90% of the community and displaced nearly all of its residents. Vicky Gonzalez has more.
The Sinclairs are celebrating a milestone with significance extending beyond their family.
Let's go.
Moving into a new chapter for the town of Paradise. Victoria and Travis Sinclair's home among the nearly 19,000 structures destroyed in the Camp Fire.
This is the first certificate of occupancy.
Now pioneering a fresh start.
Yay!
A new beginning. Their home in mint condition.
Mwah.
The first completed rebuild for the town of Paradise.
You're sleeping here tonight. I will sleep on the floor. I don't care. I am coming home today.
After 8 long months that felt like an unstable roller coaster towards eternity.
It's been trying. It's something like this will either make or break your marriage. I mean, and for us, it made it.
One home to the next, thrown into unforgiving uncertainty.
Was there ever a moment where you reconsidered or considered not coming back here, moving somewhere else?
I did. I wondered what I would be coming back to. And, I mean, you'd be foolish not to consider it.
But for the Sinclairs, home goes well beyond a house.
When I was on my Rebel, it still felt more at home, and there was a peace in my heart knowing that it was still going to be okay.
It seems like you have a deeper meaning of home also.
It is. Very much so. For me, home is just, we planted our roots here with the intention of never leaving this spot.
That was Vicky Gonzalez reporting. Welcome back. Today's housing market is all about supply. We've been in a pretty severe housing shortage for the past several years, which meant that as demand rose, prices did as well. But as CNBC's Diana Olick explains, that trend has slowly been changing, at least on a temporary basis.
This year, we started to see more listings and prices easing, but that may be short-lived. Supply is expected to drop again this fall and potentially hit a new low, according to Realtor.com. Inventory gains began to slow this year from 6.4% growth in January to 5.8% in February. Gains continued to slow throughout the spring, and supply was up just 2.8% annually in June. It's now expected to flatten over the next 3 months and could hit its first decline in October of this year. Of course, all real estate is local. The housing shortage is worsening in smaller, more affordable markets like Oklahoma City, Memphis, Raleigh, Richmond, and Pittsburgh, according to Redfin. But in pricier markets where demand has fallen off, like Seattle, San Jose, Denver, Chicago, and Boston, the supply of homes for sale is increasing. A looming shortage could help the home builders, but they still need to either lower prices or build more entry-level homes, because that's where demand is strongest and supply is leanest. Diana Olick, CNBC, Washington.